Welcome back to the Derpy channel. Today I'm super excited to be building Marceline's little cave house. This is going to be another one of our Adventure Time builds. Before we got started here, I just curated a little cave to build it in. It was pretty boring making it, so I left that out of the video. But Marceline's cave house is definitely one of the more iconic locations in Adventure Time. And it being one of the more iconic locations, I did want to get it done and put onto our YouTube, because Marceline is also one of the most iconic characters in the show, I would say, if not the most iconic character in the show, because as far as it goes, the main hitters are like Finn, Jake, Princess Bubblegum, and Marceline pretty much. So getting all of their houses done will probably be a priority in this series, but we're just getting started with a little grass bit, and I was just seeing how big that I wanted to make the house, because the house is pretty large, but this cave that I have isn't very big, but we're gonna make it work. And Marceline, we first see her in the episode where she takes Finn and Jake's house away from them. I think that was in the first season of the show, where she comes in, scares them, and then lifts the painting and shows her initials in their house. And, you know, Finn and Jake go on a little adventure, and, you know, they're trying to find a house, but they keep getting kicked out of places, obviously. And Jake sings a little "Home is Where Your Heart Is" song while they're on the little iceberg. And they find a cave, you know, and the cave looks pretty nice. So they settle in and they start recuperating on what they lost. And that episode was really cool to me because, you know, it showed the bond that Jake and Finn have, even through adversity and even being scared. You know, they can still be together and find hope and find a home. You know, home is where the heart is. But Marceline ends up crashing that place anyways, you know, just to show off her initials inside the cave. So they end up fighting, and, you know, she's taken out Jake, she bites him, throws him across the room, and, you know, Finn's fighting for his life. But they end up making up, and Marceline was happy that she could fight someone, you know, with that amount of power, because she hadn't done that in a while, because, you know, everyone's weak and Finn's a hero. So they have a good battle, and she ends up giving them their treehouse back, which is cool. But that's just the beginning of Marceline in the series, you know. As Adventure Time evolved and progressed, and I'd say that its themes and what it was trying to portray changed, you know, I think Marceline was definitely very pivotal within that, because her storyline, not only with Bonnibel and Simon, you know, but just with everybody else, being a semi-immortal being, you know, with parental issues as well, you know, having to fight through an apocalypse, lose someone so close to you who's trying to protect you, you know. And most people don't equate these things, but the Ice King wearing the crown, you know, it's almost like addiction, you know, like he's losing himself to who he becomes when he puts that on, you know. And that must have been so scary for Marceline as a child, especially with her own father not being there, Hunson Abadir, the demon king of the Nidosphere. And these adult themes really, like, put into perspective how deep the Adventure Time lore goes and the themes that it's willing to explore, because Marceline had such a rough upbringing, not only with her own father, but with Simon as well, and her mother dying. It must have been really hard for a little girl. And watching that, and then seeing who she becomes, and the journeys she takes, and the friends that she makes along the way, it's really fulfilling. And I think that's why she's one of the more popular characters in the show, you know? Because not only did she do all of that, but for me, she's like the first like good queer representation inside of a kids show like that. And you know, they try to do it nowadays, but just by making someone trans or gay and then having them shove that rhetoric down your throat and why it's okay and why they feel like that, it's like, sure, that's all well and good, and representation within that community is needed, but Marceline's never felt forced, you know? Like, yes, she's gay for Bonnabelle, Princess Bubblegum, but did it ever feel like it was forced, you know? Like, we're just making her like that? No, it never felt like that. It felt like these are two semi-immortal beings who care deeply for each other, who have experienced and watched Ooh change over time, you know? And the similar experiences that they have shared and how they're quite opposite. It just felt like it made a lot of sense. And it never felt like that was the forefront of each of their characters, you know? And I feel like that type of representation is so important because, yes, you can identify with being gay, transgender, bisexual, whatever the fuck, you know? But if you make that your identity and you make that the first topic you talk about with new people, if you make that, you know, the focus of your world and your being and identity, I think that is so counterproductive to not only those communities but to yourself, you know? Because at the end of the day, like, it's just your sexuality. It doesn't really matter, you know? And the way that Marceline and Princess Bubblegum were portrayed inside of that show was nothing short of beautiful, I would say. It was a slow burn romance. There was hints earlier on, and you know, when it did reach a climax within the Obsidian series, I think, where, you know, like, they're together and sharing personal moments in time and kiss and stuff, you know, it felt raw and real, and it was definitely one of my favorite aspects about their relationship. But other than that, this build is coming along really nicely. I've built the little basketball hoop that she has on her back deck, the grass around the side, built the little nice white and pink cabin that she has, and I was not too happy with how low the roof was, but there was not much that I could do about it, so I just tried to clear as much space as possible to make it feel a bit more open, because her cave does have quite a bit of water and, you know, stalactites and things like that. But the build definitely came out quite nicely, and as much as these YouTube videos on Adventure Time don't do as well as my other things, it's still a blessing to make, and I'm so invested in the series and Adventure Time in general that I'm just happy to make these videos, even if they get 50 views, you know, if that. But this build is definitely coming to an end. I'm just doing the rest of the cave here. I'm adding some vines, some crystals around the place. I've added some stalagmites and stalactites. I'm not sure which is which, but this build is definitely coming on nicely. The water is nice and uneven, and it looks like it's flowing down into deeper parts of the cave, which I enjoy. But since we're coming to an end here, we should do some comparisons between Marceline's real house in the show and Marceline's house that we've made here. So I'm just going to name it Marceline Keep Out, which I'm pretty sure she has on her house, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm just adding the final texturing here, the pink and white building. And let's finally compare it to what it looks like in the show. Overall, this build has been really fun to make. I love Marceline, I love Adventure Time, I love Minecraft, so it felt natural. And if you liked it, leave a like and comment. And thank you guys for watching. And I love you. and we're going to continue this series. But thanks, guys. See ya.